Hello and welcome to another episode of the World Class Real Estate Podcast. My name is Mark Worrall and today I'm joined by Mr. Ian MacBeth. How are you, mate?
I'm very good. Yeah, all good. How about you?
Yeah, very good. This feels a bit strange. So we're recording now on a Thursday lunchtime, and I just said to my team downstairs, I'm going upstairs to record a podcast. They're like, what? And it feels very unusual deviation from our Tuesday 8 a.m.
Well, I normally do them in my home office, and I'm in the office. So there's about 15 people in front of me in a big glass wall. So I'm doing the podcast. Hopefully no one comes in. But yeah, it feels a little bit different for me as well, actually, because normally I'm doing it at home and I'm waiting for a 3-year-old to walk in. Now I'm waiting for a mortgage advisor or a property manager to walk in and need the printer or something like that. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I'm glad that we got it in, and I'm glad that we're going to kind of cover stats, because I'm a bit of a stat geek as it is myself. I don't know about you. You're a bit of a stat geek?
I wouldn't say it's the thing that makes me get out of bed every morning, but what I would say now is that I'm probably more aware in my position now of the availability of stats. So this came a little bit on the back of last week's episode when we were talking about the power of stats and what did I say? There's lies, damn lies, and statistics. Yeah. This isn't about that, but following on from that, we had a conversation whereby we think that we can deliver some value to estate agents. And that's the aim of today's episode, to try and help drive some value on the very, large amount of stats that are now available on a monthly basis and, make that relevant to the competition. So I'm hoping that today's episode will really give people some value and help them give some value to their clients in turn, basically.
Yeah, well, I think most agents that I speak to, one of the biggest frustrations when it comes to making content, writing blogs, creating videos, doing social media posts, mailing out to the CRM, one of the biggest frustrations they have, frustrations I would say, is the inspiration of, right, I need to do it. And then they just get this like sort of total brain fart where they're like, I just don't know what to do now. And I would probably say over the last 5 years, it's something that I've been fortunately quite good at working out how to turn one statistic into a video that hits home in the right way. So that's why I'm looking forward to going through these. I've got Zoopla, you've got Rightmove, and one other, haven't you, as well? And we're just
nationwide.
We're just talking about how we pull
Halifax.
Yeah, how we pull something key out of it to use, and from my point of view as well, how to then use that for a video or a blog to the right type of client, basically. So yeah, it should be a good episode.
Yeah, and I think that you're absolutely right. People struggle sometimes with that inspiration or knowing what to do. And then the other thing that they struggle with then, of course, is building the consistency. Well, this is a great way to do it because this information is out at a very similar time every month, and therefore you can build your consistency with that. So, I've got Rightmove and Nationwide. Given that I've got two, shall I go first?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do Nationwide. It's always interesting to hear Nationwide's one.
So Nationwide are reporting. So this is different from Rightmove because Rightmove is a lot about asking prices. So this is all based on their mortgage figures, obviously. So Nationwide are reporting that UK house prices are up 3.2% year on year in September.
Okay, so that's last 12 months rolling. It's up 3.2%.
Yeah, the monthly change is 0.7%, and that takes the average price to £266,094. So they're saying the annual growth rate rose from 2.4 in August to 3.2 in September. So there's a bit of seasonality in these things that you have to factor in whenever you're analysing it. But that's a pretty meaty headline for people to be talking to their clients about. Yeah. Carefully is what I would say whenever you've got a figure like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd look at that. I'd ignore the last two statistics because the average house price there is no average house. So it's almost irrelevant. And it's also only based on the mortgages that they've done. So Nationwide versus Halifax, as an example, if you ever review the two, you'll always find that Nationwide often deal with cheaper clients and theirs will be lower than Halifax's, which will probably be 20 or 30 grand more. So it's an irrelevant stat, The monthly one, like you say, is so seasonal that it's very difficult to kind of use a 0.7% statistic and do anything with it.
Yeah.
But the headline, as you said correctly, the 3.2% over the last 12 months rolling, bearing in mind at the start of 2024, the media dropped all sorts of red grenades on the press and said the market's going to drop this, that, and the other. And actually, it's 1.2% over inflation.
Yeah. So those, and that stat is very, very visual. You would have to read 3 lines to pick that stat out. And you're exactly right. All the other stuff after it is, is pretty irrelevant. They're saying September records the fastest annual house price growth in 2 years. So you can take that, add it to the 3.2. Then what are you doing with it, Ian? You're turning it into a video and utilising that video, talking head, recorded anywhere, flip your phone around, start talking, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing that I always think about is, right, I've got that headline stat. So I've got that house prices are up, according to Nationwide Building Society, 3.2% over the last 12 months. That's the headline stat. But who do I want to hear that? I want my local homeowners. For us, we sell to families. So I want the families to hear that. And then I want to call them out and let them know. So I would be, let's say I live in Crowthorne, which is a small village. There's about 6,000-7,000 chimney pots there. So if I was the Crowthorne agent, I'd be saying, right, families at Crowthorne that own a property, I've got some great news for you according to Nationwide Building Society, and I'm going to cover that in this video. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to give you a little tip on what to do if you're thinking of moving between now and January. So I've called out the perfect audience. I've made it hyper local. I've made it specific to my client, and I've teased. You now have to, if you're that person that's going to move between now and January, you now have to watch this video. And what's good about that is in the first 3 seconds, the relevant people that stay on and watch the video are now in the algorithm, because whatever platform I'm on, if they watch it for 10 to 15 seconds, they're in, they're served, they're connected to the platform, and they're going to get more of my stuff because Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn think they're interested. So that's how I'd set that stat up. And then we would go into actually what the stat is, my advice and what it means for homeowners. I'd probably link it back to inflation and what the press were talking about at the start of the year. And then I would at the end say, but that's a national statistic. So if you want to know your local statistic and you're wanting to know what your 3-4 bed detached house in Crowthorne has done over the last 12 months, that's where we need to review things separately, which I can do on a phone call, Zoom, or a face-to-face visit. Somewhere around this video is a link. If you want to book a valuation, totally free. You can contact me anytime. I'm Ian MacBeth from Avocado Property, and I help families in Crowthorne move up to their next home. Give me a call if you need me. And kind of that's more or less what I do with that stat in a summary. And
so you just using it. The bit that I really liked about that, other than thinking, very, very well done, that Ian. You should be an estate agent in Crowthorne. The bit that I think probably quite a lot of people, and me included, probably miss is that question that you asked right at the start: who do I want to hear this?
Yeah.
And I think if you're looking to try and use these statistics that we get that are free of charge, that you can just go online and get, if you're looking to use them and use them consistently, that is a really strong question to be asking yourself before you put out any piece of content. It could be a post, it could, I know you love this, it could be a flyer, it could be digital advertising, it could be a video, anything should always relate back to that point. And I know that's really obvious, but actually when you're thinking about so many things, trying to do a video, you've got the red light fever, maybe, all of those things, it's very easy to forget that. So I think that was really good advice that people can take away and, start to do something with these stats.
Yeah, I think the big thing is there's so much noise out there. Everyone's trying to fight for attention. Attention is, the golden ticket at the moment. And if you're trying to talk to everyone, if you're trying to be vanilla, if you're trying to get 100% market share, you are talking to no one and no one is listening. It's just not happening. So you have to go, right, this is my middle 60%, 50% of the market. I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to be quite specific with them as well. And then at least you're talking to someone, and some of that 50% will be listening when the time is right. And you just feel more relatable. Because I'm a family guy helping families move, I live in Crowthorne, They live in Crowthorne. The kids go to the same schools as their kids. We shop in the same shops. It's so relatable when I call them out because I can highlight that with my other content. So this is like, I call this awareness content. I'm not necessarily looking for people to do business with me today. I'm just showing that I'm an authority with statistics and I'm kind enough to offer value to my target audience with an update that they can do anything they want with. And when they're ready, they're ready. But it's just making sure if you're doing an awareness stat, call out the audience that you want to hear it, basically.
Yeah, I think it's great advice. And those awareness stats, the idea with that is that Mr. and Mrs., because we're a family living in Crowthorne, they might have had a conversation about earnings, looking to start moving. That process that we talked about last week that takes a long time in our industry. That might be the Instagram reel video that wife shares to husband. Have you seen this? And that's the first thing that they might have seen a piece of content that you've put out, but then they, as you said, they get the algorithms and they start. But that is the little bit of delivering value without the expectation of necessarily getting anything back, but just doing it consistently and seeing, the sharing of those reels between parties of making a decision. That's, and that, if you're being that specific and really calling out that, that type of client in your area is going to have a much greater chance of being shared between, as my wife and I do, Mr. and Mrs. Ours are all on trying to get our two sons to behave. We get so many, do this, stop shouting, do that. But in this instance, you're looking for them just to share it between each other, I'm guessing. Yeah,
and it's a great post to drop into a Facebook group. Yeah, we've got a We Love Crowthorne group. There's about 15,000 people in it. I'd wait till ad day, which I think for us is Friday. I'd make that video on my my brand Facebook page, and then on ad day, where you're allowed to advertise, which I think for me is a Friday, I'd just share it into the group and say, "Hey Crowthorne, I made this video for homeowners in Crowthorne. It's just a little stat, but hopefully you find it helpful." Nothing else. I'm not like, and book a valuation with me, and here's my WhatsApp, and here's my email, and hashtag this and hashtag that, and don't use a corporate, whatever. It's just, here it is, just soft. Yeah. I'm here when you need me. It's just a little touch point, little trust builder, and that's all I do with it basically, and it'll work well.
Yeah, I love that little trust builder. Should we have a look at the portals? Yeah,
so I got Zoopla, and Zoopla, in my eyes, is better than Rightmove's. It's actually quite good detail. So they've got the September 2024. They have like 3 top insights on the top of theirs, if anyone's ever seen it. The ones for this month are house price inflation or house price changes on average is up 0.7%. That's the same as Nationwide's, wasn't it?
What was it? That's monthly, must be.
Yeah, 0.7.
Same as Nationwide's.
Yeah. And then they've got new sales agreed year on year is up 25%. And then this is quite an interesting one. Homes for sale marked as chain 3 currently in the UK is up 32% of the total amount of homes. So nearly a third of all properties listed are marked as chain 3.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. And I'm trying to think if I've seen that in Rightmove. Let's compare the two actually, and let's talk about that. So Rightmove and Zoopla, you'd expect them to be quite similar. We'll go through it and compare, but yes, I think the answer is they are quite similar. Are you picking the highest stat that is the most attention grabbing, or are you being consistent with what you're reporting on?
I know I always change it. I'm consistent with reporting, but different headline statistics every month. So this month's one, the two that for me are, and if you dive deeper, it's got some graphics and stuff. So the ones that I would take from this, I like to use the power of 3. So normally I'd drop 3 stats. And on this case, if I was using the Zoopla one, what I'm looking at here is buyer demand is up 26%. Sales agreed is up 25%. And nearly a third of all properties listed in the UK are marked chain 3. So I wouldn't start with that, but they're the 3 statistics I'm going to discuss. And again, to hook into the algorithm, get people, homeowners of Crowthorne, I've just reviewed the Zoopla house price report for you. It's 6 pages long. It's full of data, but I'm going to give you the 3 takeaways that you need to know if you live in Crowthorne. So don't worry, I've got your back. I'm going to tell you about buyer demand year on year, the amount of sales agreed year on year, and how many properties are marked as no chain if you don't want to get caught in a big long chain that you're worried about. So that's taken me about 7 or 8 seconds. The right people are still listening. And then we'll go through 1, 2, 3 and a soft call to action at the end. And that's how I'd basically report on that. So I'm doing you a favour. I've read it. I'm giving you the takeaways. Hang around and I'll tell you what they are. Like really easy, right? It's not too complex. But it's all in the kind of setup of the headline and knowing what they are. And for people that are not confident on camera, that are like, shit, I'm never going to be able to do that whole thing in one bang. You've got your intro. Just get that. One take. Not one take, but one clip. Even if it takes you 26 takes, you've got your intro down. Then you got stat 1, one take. Stat 2, next clip. Stat 3, next clip. Call to action, next clip. So you can actually do the video in like 4 or 5 parts, knit it together, and it looks like super professional. And you're like, cool, I'm happy with that. If you're comfortable, you can bang it all out in one go or do it live, or you can do it the other way where you clip it all together. So you don't have to sort of be too worried about using stats and think, right, I've got to get this right in one go, because you actually don't. You just knit it together.
Yeah. It's a very good point, because you could, and therefore, if you stumble over your words at point 3, don't start the whole thing again. Just do point 3 again.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting. The chain free part of that. I think I read it somewhere in the Rightmove bit, but I can't be sure that's I've seen online somewhere that there's a record number of previously rented out homes currently on the market. And that is, and I'm sure you've had it, landlords are shitting themselves about what is coming, basically, a lot of them. And that's the chain free stat, right? Yeah.
Well, it's harder to be a landlord even before the budget because of all the taxes now that are in play. Yeah. And they're worried that they're going to get screwed on second property tax in the budget. So they're trying to exit them now and obviously sell the portfolio. A lot of them are tenant in situ, which I don't have a problem with, but lenders seem to, which blows my mind that they'd rather a vacant property than guaranteed rent coming in. It makes no sense, but that's the banks for you. That's a whole other different conversation. But yeah, that's exactly right. Why there's that many. It's investors selling their second home, basically. And I don't know, you can look at that as a problem or an opportunity, depending on which way your brain works. But it's there as an impact. So you'd imagine a lot of those are more the 2-bed market, 3-bed market than the bigger stuff. It's great for first-time buyers because it means you've got a better chance of getting in a chain with just you and the seller, really.
Yeah, interestingly enough, we were just having a conversation in the opposite. We had a record number of first-time buyers register with us last week. And sometimes it's related to the type of properties that you're selling and what have you. But that was, that's an encouragement. And that's what the government will be trying to promote. You've also got the rental reform bill coming in, which I think is starting to play on the mind. Let's compare Rightmove to Zoopla. So I think you said 26% sales agreed up year on year. Rightmove is 27. Did Zoopla, was it 26?
26 on buyers and 25 on sales for Zoopla. So yeah 2% more for Rightmove.
Yeah, the interesting one that I've got within the Rightmove stats, the number of sales being agreed up 27% year on year. That is a really strong stat to be talking to potential buyers about. However, it's currently taking longer than it was last year to sell a house, 3 days longer, currently 60 days. So that's really quite interesting. And I think that's probably because buyers have got so much choice. They have got more choice than at any time since 2014. It's got in here, and then it's got a bit on mortgage rates. Average 5-year fixed rate mortgage 4.67, lower than 6.11 back in July last year. So there's loads of stuff that you can pull out of there, and depending which way you want to play it, you can also put it up as really positive, or I would never recommend this, or you could put it down as really negative if you wanted to do that, because the houses are taking a little bit longer. So you can manipulate the data however you want. But those stats are really quite encouraging for the market in general, seeing 27% year on year improvement in number of sales being agreed. That is strong for sellers, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And the bit that you spoke about there, because everyone says, negative news sells or bad press sells. If you do a little bit of legwork on it, if we take that 60-day statistic, and things are taking a couple of days longer, because that's a national stat. If we've got, what's your main core patch where you trade?
So it would be classed as South Ribble. The district is South Ribble.
South Ribble. So let's say, right, homeowners are South Ribble. The national statistic at the moment is saying it's taking a couple of days extra to get a property under offer. Rightmove are reporting 60 days. But I've gone away and looked into the local information. And in this video, I'm going to share with you what it means for you and what it actually means for us as an agency as well. So then the 3 stats that we're using in this video is what it means locally as an average. And then at the end, hopefully yours is better than the average. You can use a little kind of trust builder bomb and go, and this is what it is for us. So for me in Crowthorne, going back to that, let's say it's the average in Crowthorne is 57. So it's a little bit faster because I can say, as we know, people in Crowthorne are a little bit more educated than the average. So we have a bit of fun with the video. So quite an affluent area. And then if avocados is like 49 or something. So, but the good news is, with me at avocado, it's just 49 days. So fear not, I'm going to get you your 2-week holiday back. Like, you can just use it with a bit of flow, but you have to do a little bit of legwork of seeing the hook with Rightmove and then going, well, what does that mean for me? Because that's really what they're going to be asking themselves, your audience is, that's all well and good, but I don't really care what's going on in Northampton or Manchester or Essex or Brighton. What's it mean for me? Well, here's the answer. And here's what it means for me, because that's the little bit of extra that you get to put across by doing the hard work for the client, really. So that's how I'd kind of pull that out, is go, there's my hook and where's the research, and then spit it out, basically.
It goes back to that question that you asked right at the start when you're talking about recording it. Who do I want to hear this? Who do I want to hear this? And then making it more relatable to them, because of course then it's going to perform better. How are you, if you're putting this out, is it a reel? Is it less than 90 seconds in a reel, done portrait from your phone?
Yeah, the Zoopla one, funnily enough, I just banged out on Instagram today because it came out today. So if someone wants to have a look at it, there's like a 90-second one on Instagram that you can see, which I shared on my TikTok as well. So for something like that, quick fire update, I just get that out on the day. Here's the 3 takeaway points. If I was doing it as like the wrap up monthly forecast, another tip that I like to use is we're recording this at the start of October. What a lot of agents will now do is they'll do their property market review and they'll use September, because we've got September's data. No one cares about the past. So the tip for everyone is, if you're doing it in the start of the month in the first week, do it as your October forecast. Don't do it as your September review, because no one cares about September. It's happened. We're in October. And then use the September data for how you're forecasting for October. So that's the way that I do it for the monthly review, is these are the 3 statistics, and this is how I think it's going to impact your house price or the people thinking of moving in October. And that one I would probably do more like 2.5 minutes. I'd set it up a little bit different. I'd probably be a bit more creative with the filming. I might not do it as like a selfie video. I might have someone follow me and do a little bit more. Or I could just do it in this setup, microphone, with laptop, talk to the lens, do a bit of screen sharing if I feel comfortable doing it that way. Mix it up, see what's comfortable for your style. I like to have a camera pointing at me and walk while they walk backwards without trying to trip them up. Because I just find it looks good. It's like a news reporter sort of vibe, and that's my play on style, but that might be different for other people.
Yeah, and then it's also not only what works well for you. If it works well for you, then obviously you're going to be more likely to continue to do it, but what performs better as well. I'm sure that's come into, you'll have looked at the stats and how it's performed and said, right, what is more likely to get more eyeballs on it, and then carry on that sort of style. Yeah,
I think under 3 minutes is the answer I give for that. That's really what people want, is they want the quick stuff, mortgage news, change to stamp duty, base rate, bang, give it to me in 30 seconds. I don't want it any quicker. A report like Zoopla or Nationwide, give it to me inside 90 seconds. I don't want it any longer. An end of month stuff, people have probably got 3 or 4 minutes max for you, probably more like 2.5, 3 minutes. So give it to them in that speed. But the main thing on what performs is keeping their attention for at least 10 to 15 seconds.
That golden initial, because otherwise Scroll past.
Yeah, and then the algorithm knows that as well. So like, no one's watching that. We're not going to serve it anywhere. So the way that a lot of these algorithms work is they'll send it to 10 people, and then you've got to get 90% of those 10 people to watch it over 10 or 15 seconds. If you do, they'll send it to 100. If you get the 100, and then it'll be like 70%. Then they'll send it to 1,000, 65%, 10,000. So if you really want to get into the thousands and 10,000s, that first 15 seconds, you've got to be really strong on what you're giving or not giving away, as the case may be as well.
Yeah. So we talked about the 3 different indexes. We talked really useful, I think, there, Ian. Thanks for sharing on how we can use that. What about if somebody isn't confident just yet on doing a video on this sort of thing? What advice can you give anyone who might be in that camp?
Yeah, great kind of question, and often get that a lot with the newer Avo agents when they join. Write a blog. Just write a blog. So before we started the business, I was sat at home in my home office and I was like, right, I personally don't feel overly comfortable on camera. So I targeted myself between October and December, knowing we were going to launch in February, to write 100 blogs. So that was my thing, 100 words. And I'm terrible at writing, but I was like, that's what I'm going to force myself to do, is get good at writing, and then learning how to set up the blog, the title, the subsections. It's like any good book, good middle, good end, good start. And then the middle bit has to be key. So write the blog. And then once you've got the blog, you have got a script. It is there in front of you. And because you've written it, not only is it there in front of you, it's there because it's come out of your head. So actually, when you put the camera on, it's there, whether you freeze or not on the camera, it is there. So you can trust that I'm going to get this out. And it's almost like you've done it twice. So you feel a little bit more comfortable with it. And use the blog. It may be that you're the blog guy. I might be the Crowthorne blog guy. And that might be my thing, is I just constantly posting LinkedIn articles, putting the blog to my URL, my website, into the Crowthorne Facebook group for people to read. And I might just be the authority on property market updates in written form. That's okay. It's not my strength. I'm terrible at writing and I can't spell for shit. So that's the kind of thing that I wouldn't do. But someone might be the polar opposite, and that might be where they win all their business. The clients they're going to win are not my clients, and the clients I win is not theirs. So it's fine. There's enough to go around.
Yeah. And that is a really important mindset, I think, for agents to take. Just before we wrap, you mentioned it before when we talked about who's this going to be for. Don't be vanilla. Be very specific about the type of people that you are looking to target. And you mentioned it again there. We talked last week about the FOMO of estate agents not winning every listing. That is a big thing to remember. You are not going to win every listing, and not every client is going to be for you. And there is enough to go around as long as you build a good, as you would say, profitable business.
And the other statistic to drop there is that I think it's showing at the moment that only 51% of properties that come to the market sell. So you don't need everything. You just need the good 51%. You don't need the 40. Don't worry about if it's going on Rightmove, because if it's one of the pigs that's overpriced that you valued and it's gone on at 40 grand more, cool. Get over it. Get on to the next one. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, absolutely. As agents, we like to win, but it's not about just winning the instruction in this game, is it? As I'm sure everyone is finding out, when houses are now taking a little bit longer to sell. And absolutely. I would say, I don't know what the numbers are, but probably record numbers in recent times are not selling. So yeah, doesn't pay to win the listing necessarily.
No one gets paid on boards. We get paid on commission, banked money. So
as much as many other estate agents might have that argument.
Some do, I'm sure, in the corporate. Some of the valuers do. They get paid on boards, but yeah, it's not my style of agency for sure. Yeah. So hopefully people have taken some value from that episode. And, if anyone's got any questions for me or Mark, obviously, or Sam, they can reach out, drop us a message, and we can go into more detail on this sort of stuff if they want to as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's been really useful for me. So I'm sure it has been for our listeners as well. So thank you very much for your time. And as you say, reach out, share this out on social media. I'm Mark Worrall. He's Ian MacBeth. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next week.